Hello, my name is Sebastian from Social Anxiety Solutions, and I'm here with June, and we're going to do a little interview about the 30-day Social Confidence Challenge that's coming up very, very soon. It's going to be the 1st of January, and yeah, I'm interviewing different people who have gone through the 30-day challenge, and June is one of them, and this is a very unscriptured fashion because we're just going to do Q&A. So June is actually a member of my Social Confidence Club, and I asked him if he wanted to share. He's not anxiety free completely, but he's made very good progress. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about what happened during the 30-day challenge, how he experienced it, and what he thinks it's helpful for you to give it a go, and maybe some tips and tricks. Okay, so let's get started by how were you doing prior to the 30-day challenge?
I I realized that all this was a year ago. Um, I think back then I was already on board like some of your programs. I think I took up the incredible emotional create yeah create incredible
That one?
emotional confidence course. Yeah, control. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that was I got some tips and tricks and some techniques that you've taught, but it didn't really quell like the overwhelming social anxiety that I had. So every time when
Mm.
I went out, I think I was just like last year around like November, December, my anxiety was still peaking a lot. So whenever I study outside, whenever someone would walk past, my mind would just go crazy. Like I would be thinking of like, oh, what is he gonna do to me? Is he gonna like attack me? Is he gonna think about all these nasty things about me? How am I gonna feel um being around them? So yeah, that was really, really like chaotic internally. So obviously I didn't know what was going on, and I just continued living as though like it was fine, but it's not. So when I then I yeah, I think the whole COVID thing um, allowed me to have the time to to actually pause and realize that you have this 30-day challenge, and I just decided to give it a go because like since I already tried your course, I'm willing to follow along with something that you've came up with. So yeah, I think it was one of the most helpful thing um, that I've started with um, in helping my social anxiety. And precisely that is 30 days makes it a lot more manageable than a limitless a no time limit course, because you have
Mm.
something to be accountable for. Every day you do something, you inch your way towards growth. Yeah, rather than saying, oh, I can just do it like next week, nobody is pushing me. Yeah, I'm not meaning it in a negative way, because like
Sure.
motivation can be done negatively. You can feel very overwhelmed if you have a lot of things to do every day. But I like how in your course, every day is just like 10 15 minutes. Yeah. And that really
Yeah.
gets things going. So,
Mm.
and explaining things in a very concise and comprehensive way. And then with action steps. Yeah. It's something
What
that, and then you made it free. So that was the, that was a good thing.
mhm. What were some of the action steps that you well, rather than being too specific, what were the action steps, or like what was the format? I can tell them, but yeah, let's see how you
Right.
experienced it.
Yeah. It's a quiz. Um, so from my memory, or from, I guess like the more memorable things that I've learned from the course was the the act tapping. So when you moved from really drilling the resistance and tapping on all the resistance and acceptance of the anxiety, helps me really um, build on the foundation of um, tapping tapping for acceptance rather than tapping on the root memories immediately. Because when I started learning tapping, I always thought that I must go to the root memories. I must go to the root memories. But I was actually having a lot of resistance, a lot of things that I couldn't let go of. So there was no point in going there. So what you did was you really knew what you were doing. You went to the resistance first, and then you went to the acceptance. Then at the end, then you touched a little bit on the memories, which was very helpful because like I think many of the the or at least the way that I learned it was always the other way around and didn't make much progress. Yeah.
Hmm.
So the acceptance, compassion, tapping was what was really helpful back then because I always thought that I actually no need to accept myself. I just need to get rid of the social anxiety when it is
Right.
the social anxiety that needs to be accepted because um it's been serving us for so many years, but um we always thought that it's our enemy. Yeah. That
Yeah.
was
Right.
it was the greatest revelation that I had during the course. Yeah,
Okay.
because nobody told me that. Yeah,
Awesome.
and yeah, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Um, when I just started learning EFT tapping, I should say, EFT is a very specific format. I don't necessarily do EFT. I do tapping. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I do nearly the same thing. But if you if you say EFT, you need to follow the exact specific structure, and I don't do that. So let's just call it tapping. Um, yeah, I was taught, okay, what you do is you tune into the feeling, you ask yourself what that feeling reminds you of, and then you work with the memories. And that is indeed a foundational part and one of the many ways you can work on memories. But I soon discovered as I started working with other people, like, wow, that doesn't get me all too far because people are way too wound up in the problem. They're so much beating themselves up, and even when we do release some memories and we resolve them, they don't make that great progress, and they keep falling back, and like I'm missing something. And it was only in later years that I discovered, okay, acceptance is essential to work on. And it's very difficult to do with just cognitive methods. Saying, okay, I accept this anxiety. Yeah, it's important to accept, and you can get all the logic for it and metaphors, and it all helps a little bit. But it just helps so much more when you simply use the tapping to address the non-acceptance, because then you can get to the acceptance. And another thing that you said was, this anxiety's been is serving us for years. Someone who hears that for the first time is like, what are you talking about? Anxiety is my enemy, and without it I have no problems. So
Yeah.
if that's you when you're watching this, I understand where you're coming from. But what the anxiety really is your brain is seeing a threat, and it's because it's seeing a threat, it's activating this fight, flight, freeze response, which puts your whole system in survival mode. Your heart rate starts to increase, pumps your blood faster throughout your veins. Blood goes away from your head and your digestive system into your outer limbs. Your heart rate, your breathing increases, and your whole system is energized to deal with the threat that it's perceiving. So it works, it functions well. Just the problem is there's no real threat. But the threat that your brain is seeing is based upon stuff that happened earlier. So you might be in a scenario now with your employer, and your employer is actually a really nice guy. But to your brain, your employer reminds you of your dad who was super critical. And so your brain is firing off the alarm. It's like, hey, careful, danger. You might get rejected just like you did by your dad. You might get criticized just like your dad, or whatever. This is just an example, of course. There are many different variations um, on this, but this is a bit of an overview. And therefore, um, if you're at war with the anxiety, it's just going to fight back because it thinks it needs to activate this fight, flight, freeze response because it sees a danger. And if it doesn't do that, you're going to be in more danger. So you can't fight it. Anyway, we get more into this within the challenge. I have a guest expert who comes along, and we're doing a lot of work on soothing that anxiety and working towards acceptance. So, what has that done for you, June? That acceptance.
Um. Yeah. I think like I I I realized that the most important thing that you mentioned was that you do it with tapping. Cause like back then I was just doing CBT, I was doing mindfulness, but they didn't really cross the boundaries of allowing my brain to rewire to believing and understanding tapping. Oh, sorry, understanding acceptance of my anxiety because my body was resisting like every instinct in me is telling me not to accept anxiety, and I totally understand that feeling because if you tried so hard to try to quell anxiety, why on earth would you want to accept the very enemy that you've been dealing with for so many years? So I think, oh yeah, and I remember that you talked a lot about motivation, and that was a very important thing that was in the challenge as well. Like because you are Sebastian is a social anxiety sufferer himself. He understands what kind of challenge and what kind of like struggle it is to have to deal with anxiety for not just a few days but many years and every second of our lives. Feeling very panicky is something that's very um like you really want a solution, right? And Sebastian is able to motivate, or at least motivated me to help me look at the problem and slowly tap on the acceptance. And when I tapped on the acceptance, I slowly reduced the judgment, the hate, the anger that I have on my anxiety. Yeah. So I, I don't know if I wanna go like
That's fine.
too
Hmm.
detailed. Like I think you mentioned a little bit on meta feelings also during the challenge. Yeah. So realizing that there's a problem beneath the problem, which is you, which is how you react to the anxiety. Yeah. Locks up the anxiety even more. Yeah. So you used a metaphor. I think you used it many times. Like if if you have like a child that is crying, I think you mentioned like your daughter, right? That um she doesn't want to go to school because she's scared. Then you you as the father, if you were to react and say, screw you and just go to school, you you little bastard, then the daughter would feel even more traumatized. So you're adding more problem to the problem that she already has, which is the fear of going to school. But if the dad reacted the other way, which is to say like, oh, like why are you scared? Is what's making you feel so afraid? Is there anything that you need? Can I like um maybe you want to talk to me about it and share some of your struggles, then we can understand it better. Then you're really accepting what the daughter is dealing with and not adding fuel to the fire. Yeah. But
Yeah.
saying all this doesn't really change that mindset unless you add tapping. Because tapping really helps you integrate what you understand and process and put it into the subconscious mind. Yeah, that's why
Yeah.
tapping is an essential thing in the process. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. The metaphor is that my daughter is like the anxiety, right? And me as the father, it's kind of like how you are internally towards your anxiety. So you can either be the mean father and say, "Don't be such a pussy. Go to school, you little shit." Guess what? That's gonna do with how my daughter's gonna feel. It's just gonna get worse. She's gonna, feel even worse about herself, and the anxieties, her fear of going to school is just gonna get even worse. Well, when I'm really sweet and caring and kind and considerate and compassionate towards her, she's going to feel a lot better. And as a result, the anxiety is going to shrink and not be as big a problem. And it's going to go away quicker. It's an essential step to making a transformation. Yeah. And what you said, without tapping, this is just a mindset and you don't really get there. Yeah, right. Um, One of the EFT masters, one of the earliest ones, Patricia Carrington, she's no longer alive. She died like a year ago at 96, still doing EFT at 96. A really cool lady. I interviewed her on my podcast once, and she said, "Yeah, I believe that through the tapping, we have a direct communication with the subconscious, and so we can instill messages. You know, I'm sure you've heard of affirmations, saying the same thing over and over and over, and it takes forever because subconscious learns through repetition, and it learns through emotion, symbols and metaphors and so on. But through repetition, without including any emotion, you need to do it over and over and over and over. And it's like the tapping has a like a shortcut link to the subconscious, and therefore, you know, seems to be the case that things just get installed really quick. I don't know how it works. I just know that we can access the subconscious real quick. So yeah, it's cool stuff. Okay. So what would you say to someone who is considering, should I do this or should I not do this? Well, let me just say, I told you this is unscripted. I'm just coming up with this on the fly. So um, sometimes things then go wrong. So we're not going to edit this out because we're not looking for perfection. All right. So yeah, about a little over 50% of the people that joined that signed up for the challenge last time, they didn't even get started on the first day. So they missed out on the whole thing. Do you have any idea about why they might not have started?
I cannot speak for them, but what I might think is, like, from my experience from signing up to courses and not starting them, is probably because one, it's free. So there's no like there's no investment to it, right? They think like, oh, it's free, so like, you know, it shouldn't be as valuable as like $100 course. That might be the reason, or that might be one reason, because they're not financially invested. If they're not financially invested, they don't have like attachments to the course, and they feel like, I'll or either that I'll just get to it another time, and eventually that another time becomes never. So, and then if that's one, like, investment, then maybe two is like how severe their anxiety is worth treating. So like, if you've tried a lot of things and then so many things don't work, um, then you try another thing, you already have the belief that this is not gonna work either. You know, it's just gonna do like some strange tapping and just like fade away temporarily, which it will happen because like it's a back and forth thing until you slowly make permanent progress when you address deeper things. But I think if they already started out with that limiting belief that, oh, it's not gonna work, and they don't even see through it the first day, which you will address, right? I remember you addressed it, like this won't work. How can I work through this limiting belief? And you work through it as well. So if they're not even willing to take the first step, then it's like you're not even allowing the horse to even walk to the river. It's staying in the stable for the rest of its life, kind of thing. When you've already opened the door towards the river, kind of thing. So why I really decided to take action is because I'm not willing to like give up in trying to figure out a way for me to treat this problem that I have, or at least a problem that I wasn't willing to admit. Yeah, because everyone thinks that, you know, social anxiety is just a part of you. You know, you're just a part of being an introvert, so you have social anxiety. So you kind of think that you have you you think you have a problem, but you don't want to think that you have it.
Yes, that makes
you,
sense before you
yeah,
ask
you
it.
have a
Yes.
yeah, you have a
Yeah.
problem, but you think yourself think to yourself that no, it's not a problem. It's not a problem, right?
Mm.
And you just
Mm.
pretend that everything is fine. I don't need to be treated. That's kind of like how I was taught also. Like my mom tell me that no, this is not a problem. You're just overthinking. Just get on with life and move on. And then you will just logically convince yourself that it's not a problem. I don't need any help. Yeah, but I wasn't willing to sit at that, or at least sit at the desperation that I have to to deal with like all of these triggers, or just being at peace with myself. I think that was what I really really wanted.
Mm.
Even if it was like just um, a few more hours in my life, it would be so much more worth it than being who I was a year ago. Yeah. So that was at least what got me through the first few days. And then what happens after that is you helping us through the coming days. Because yeah, it wasn't easy, but I think because partly thanks to thanks to COVID, I was pretty much at home every day. So like every morning I had nothing to do. Um, I would just turn on your challenge, just get through it before I have my breakfast, and then yeah. So that was kind of like what got me through it.
Mm.
Yeah,
It's a good tip as
just
well. Yeah. Do it before
yeah,
breakfast because it's just 15 minutes on average.
yeah.
Get it out.
Just
And how would you feel after each day, after each little exercise,
um
email and video?
right. Um, they they feel like reading an interesting article because you inject a lot of like anecdotes and stories. So it's not like some boring science that you read and then like you have to try to internalize. It's really simplified. Yeah, you made it so simple so that we can all understand. And I feel like even someone that doesn't really know a lot about psychology is able to understand what you're trying to convey because it's
Mm.
logical. Like there is a part of you that doesn't want to feel anxious, and there's a reason why you're feeling anxious for whatever reason that might be. Yeah, so it becomes very common sense rather than psychologically technical. Yeah, that's a
Mm.
word. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to hear that that's been your experience because that's how I tried to communicate. Because I learned you want to write like even a 12-year-old can understand it, because that way it's simple for your brain, and then you get it. And with lots of stories, story is entertaining to read. And if you just get facts and figures and la la la, yeah, it doesn't make an impact. It's not emotional. You don't go there. You don't use your imagination. Yeah,
Mm.
good. Okay. Um, what would you say, like last question, what would you say or recommend to someone who is um, not sure about whether he or she is going to join?
Oh, actually, I wanted to say something for the
Go ahead.
previous.
Go ahead.
I wanted to add on, like, I remember you said something that was quite insightful back then, even till now, because I'm remembering it. You said, always remember that it's progress oriented, not goal oriented. Yeah, I
Mm,
think that was really important because, like, you see a lot of people you will see a lot of people making progress in a challenge. Everyone is moving, everyone is progressing. And then you will feel like sometimes I don't feel like I'm moving. I feel like every day 30 days is not a short time, neither is it a super long time, but it's still a month of your life. And as people progress and some days you don't, you will feel like left out because like I watched the videos and I watched the articles, and people are making profound changes within that few days, and then I don't make it. What's wrong with me? But if I can, um, taking from what you said, progress oriented, I um, I see like the little progress that I make little bit of relief here and there, and just like even maybe like waking up feeling like slightly less anxious, like 1 point less anxious is already a progress. Yeah, there's this thing called like vibrational trend. So like if you are able to grow in a way that you see that you are moving towards um, the trend that you want to go to, which is being less anxious, then you're already moving, making progress. You don't have to be like the others because everyone's struggle is different. Everyone's problems can be smaller. Uh, people's problems can be smaller or bigger. So if yours have a lot more things to work through, then then you then your journey will be longer, but I think it'll be more fulfilling because you see more things. Whereas other people, they have smaller things to deal with, they make bigger progress. That doesn't mean that you're not making progress. Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's what I
very good
think.
point. Yeah, very good point. Um, People seem to think um, it's either black or white. I'm either anxiety free at the end of the challenge or not. And if I'm not completely anxiety free, then it doesn't count of the progress that I've made. That's the wrong mindset. That's not how it works. To go from where you're at to effortless social ease is a journey, and it's a journey of a lot of little steps, and it's a lot of little pieces of relief. That's why I say, be process oriented. Focus on the process. Commit to the process. You can commit to the outcome, and you want to commit to the outcome, but be process oriented. Be focused on the process, and you've got this outcome that you're working towards. But don't check every day. Am I there yet? Am I there yet? Because it's more like a gradual decreasing of the anxiety, and an increase of your comfort level with yourself and the peace with yourself. And slowly but surely, you start to find situations where you don't have anxiety. And there's just a lot to discover about yourself, about your psychology, about how tapping works, what can be done. And when you've been stuck for a really, really long time, it's difficult to imagine you can get to a place where you're actually not anxious, where you're actually at ease, where you're freely socializing. And because of that, it takes time to build up that hope. It takes time to start to chip away at the layers of the issue until you get to the core. Um, but it's a very worthwhile endeavor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have any profound things
Oh,
to add to that, June?
yeah. So like getting to your last question, right? So what would you want? I can't remember what
If
exactly
so,
you said.
yeah, if someone is in doubt about whether to join or not, what would you say to them?
Right. So like how I got to your stuff was the first video I saw was the animated YouTube video, the one that had like millions of views. So like
Mm,
I don't know about you lah. So um naturally people would scroll to the comments, right? I'm not sure you saw any of the comments, but people were saying like, oh, this he's just telling us the science about it. He's not really explaining how it works, right? So that was kind of like when I got curious, like, so what is all this about? Because that perspective was something that I never really saw. The idea of fight, flight, freeze response. How can I deactivate or like neutralize this response? Then I went to your website, and then I saw that starter pack that you had, and then I I I went to see what is it about. So you had a few videos. I tried to tap on those videos. I made a bit of progress, and then eventually I bought your course, made a bit of progress. Then there was the 30-day challenge, and I made a lot more progress. So I guess for me was that I had to find out what this really was about. I think that advice should apply to anyone else as well. There's there's a lot of like resources about social anxiety that may or may not hit the spot of the root problem. So I'm very thankful that I came across that video and I went to find out about it. and I went and give it a shot, even though like I didn't know if it was gonna work, because there in this digital age, there's just so many things that we can research about, that we can Google about, and some advice will still stay to the cognitive level, like positive affirmations, going out with people and hanging out and trying to make yourself feel more comfortable. Those kind of things, I feel that are just like I've tried them, and they only got me so far. That's why I was willing to try different things like tapping. Yeah. Even though it looks very weird and looks very strange. So coming across that video and being inquisitive and curious about what is it about, and just finding more about what your page was, what your resources are about, and how can it really take me, could it really take me to where many resources couldn't take me, was what um, got me so motivated into this thing.
Mm.
Yeah. So my advice is find out for yourself. At least do your do a bit of like, I don't know, googling, find out about what Sebastian does. Is he legit and stuff? Then
Exactly.
then yeah, then take the plunge. Yeah. Anyways, it's free. Yeah. And precisely
Yeah.
it's free. That's why it's not. So he doesn't give you the like, oh, you must buy this, you know. So, and if it doesn't work out, too bad, you already paid the money. You're not even paying any money to try this thing
Mm.
for 30
Mm.
days. Yeah. So there was a barrier removed for me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. I wanted to say one more thing about the free. Yeah, what you said earlier in this chat. Yeah, people might not want to do it because it's free, and they
Mm.
don't have any commitment to it, and so on. I don't know if I'm going to do it free forever. So this might be your last opportunity. Not saying that because I might put money on it, because as you said, you had my course, which is a paid course, create incredible emotional control, and yet you got more out of the 30-day challenge. Perhaps also because you built the foundation of with CIEC. I don't know, but
Mm.
um, and I would say that the 30-day challenge is at least as valuable as that paid course. I created it during lockdown just because I thought this would be fantastic to put some good stuff out there in the world. And I want to resolve social anxiety worldwide. I want to let people know about what is possible with EFT, with tapping. What are some important core concepts that I've learned in the past 19 years that need to be out there? And so while it's free, it doesn't mean that it's crap. It doesn't mean that you can just say, "Oh, I'll do it one day." This is something really, really amazing, and there's going to be thousands of people that are going to go through this challenge with you. So show up, and um, exactly. If you keep doing what you've always done, definition of insanity, you keep getting what you've always gotten. This is very different than anything you've ever tried, and just show up for day one. And my belief is that after day one, you'll feel confident to do day two, and after day two, you feel confident to do day three, and soon you're in momentum and you're actually enjoying the challenge. That's the experience of many, many people.
Yep.
So, yep, exactly. June, thank you very much. Much
Yeah.
appreciated.
Thanks for
Uh,
having me.
yeah, I'm happy about your progress. Really cool. And
Yes.
thanks for sharing it with others.
Yes. I appreciate it.
Cool. All right. That's it. End of the interview.